Everybody. My name's Faz Ahmed and I'm a Business Development Manager here at Prolifics Testing. Now today we'll be undertaking a session around the value of test automation for SAP and achieving quality at speed. So in terms of agenda, I'm going to begin by giving you a very brief background into Prolifics testing and then talk about how we can help implement quality at speed for SAP and introduce you to some of the free accelerators that we provide to support what we call SAP Test Lifecycle Automation. Then I'll hand over to Kieran, who will undertake a demo of end-to-end SAP test automation. There'll be time at the end for questions, so please do use the chat facility and we'll make sure that we spend some time at the end to answer all questions. So to begin, Prolifics Testing. So originally we were known as e-testing. We were just a small specialist testing services company based in the UK, founded back in 1999. But as of November of 2017, we became the UK testing arm of Prolifics, a large global digital transformation specialist focused on areas such as integration and APIs, data and analytics, and where we fit in within the quality and engineering team. So as of today, Prolifics Testing, we're very much a SAP testing specialist with over 20 years of experience. In terms of size, we've got over 400 dedicated QA and testing staff split between the UK and Hyderabad. And we were actually very lucky enough to undertake one of the first global S/4HANA migrations for McKesson. And if you were to ask us what makes us different to many of the testing services companies out there, it's our focus on innovation, not for its own sake, but to help our clients to test smarter, faster, and at less cost. And in terms of some of our SAP experience and background, we've worked with a number of clients, both here in the UK as well as globally as well. So to begin, test automation for SAP, achieving quality at speed. Within Prolifics Testing, we engage with clients in a number of different ways to achieve this. The first level in terms of maturity is by helping them with our gap framework. Now this is designed to help organizations to automate on day one. It's a hybrid module and keyword and data driven framework. And what it helps organizations to do is accelerate automation with pre-built library of functions around SAP, as well as having frameworks for other packaged software alongside with that. Next level up in terms of maturity, and this is where our session will focus on today, is around test lifecycle automation. And that's designed to help organizations to automate more. In fact, to automate the entire SAP test lifecycle. And finally, we have our latest innovation, which is Quality Fusion, and that's designed to help organizations to automate intelligently. Now, we won't be covering this, but Quality Fusion's our AI-driven and containerized test automation platform based in the cloud. But we do have a webinar coming up next month, and if you're interested, please do go on our website and feel free to sign up for that webinar. So, back in hand, introduction to SAP Test Lifecycle Automation. So as I mentioned, as an organization, we're focused on innovation, and we achieve this innovation through our free accelerators, and that helps us achieve what we've termed test lifecycle automation. So that's automating everything from test design, data, execution, right through to validation. And we do that through using clever concepts such as machine learning to auto-generate manual test cases. We use data mining techniques to automate test data creation. We use clever analytics to predict defects even before they arise and help organizations to target test effort more intelligently. We also use concepts such as cloud and containerization around testing. So our first accelerator, BA360. Now this is designed to automate manual test case generation through using machine learning and predictive analytics. The way it works and how Kieran will show you in a short while is BA360 connects to SAP or indeed any other application under test, and it will auto learn the system. A user simply just enters in requirements and certain other parameters, and it will auto generate manual test cases to achieve the test coverage that you require through prioritizing tests based on risk. It fully supports both agile and waterfall methodologies, and all test cases can be exported into any test management tool, but we've made pre-built connectors for Jira and QCLM out of the box. It also cleverly links into your defects database to perform predictive analytics, and that helps you prioritize testing based on risk and enables you to test smarter. And we've got a great case study for BA360 at VMware, one of our long-term test clients. Their background was they were actually implementing Oracle E-Business Suite, and they needed to undertake manual testing, but didn't have access to any application subject matter experts. So our solution was to propose BA360, and we were able to generate over 1,500 manual test cases in just 4 man days. Now this would have taken VMware 187 man days to do manually. We were able to achieve cost savings of 97%, achieve test coverage of 99%, and most importantly, have 0 defects in production. Next, we have our data mining engine, and that enables automated test data extraction and management. And the way it works is once test data criteria has been entered into it, it can be used to mine for test data all automatically. It can take a cut of production data or indeed data from any other source. It can be used alongside any internal data strategies for data masking or synthetic data, and it totally eliminates the need for manual test data creation and maintenance. And typically we can achieve anywhere up to 75% time and cost savings when compared to creating and maintaining test data manually. Next, we have Effector, which is our test automation accelerator, and it was designed to overcome the challenges of traditional test automation. It provides a fast and cost-effective way to automate manual test cases, and importantly, anyone can use it. It enables totally code-free and script-free automation through using Selenium for web, Micro Focus's UFT for non-web, and Appium for mobile applications. And the way it works is it uses the record and playback feature of Selenium and UFT and automatically generates a series of reusable test steps, which can then be used to build subsequent test cases. Test data is separated from the script so that users can use any data sets, and it also integrates into our data mining engine to ensure tests never fail due to out-of-date test data by automatically extracting test data at runtime. And it's not just about creating automated tests, but it also makes maintaining automated test packs easy too. And that's achieved through our Grabber utility, which can be run after any changes are made to an application. And the way it works is it automatically identifies which objects have changed and the test scripts associated with them. Also, importantly, it uses page object model, so test steps only have to get updated once and it gets updated everywhere. And it comes with pre-built integrations to Jenkins to support CI/CD and also Source Labs for devices and emulators in the cloud. Typically, Effector can deliver anywhere up to 60% savings from out-of-the-box Selenium or UFT scripting, and it can deliver anywhere up to 30% savings when compared to automation frameworks. Next, we have Validation Manager. So that's designed for any type of migration, and it enables automated validation of any data type from any source system to any target system. It also automates mapping of data schema, and it can support transform data for ETL 2 by simply inputting business rules. And it's totally scalable. Our tool validated over 3 billion fields in just a matter of hours for our latest S4 HANA migration. And we've got a great case study where we've taken Effector, data mining engine and validation manager and used them combined in conjunction at McKesson, one of our long-standing clients. And their background was they had a large global SAP estate, and they wanted to reduce both the time and cost taken for manual testing their frequent changes to their SAP system, which totaled somewhere in the range of 40 changes every 3 months. So our proposed solution was to implement test automation using Effector with our UFT framework. And what we were able to achieve was rapidly create 1,700 automated test scripts, deliver over £500,000 worth of regression test costs, and we went further to automate 40 business processes to reduce costs and manual effort. We also implemented our data mining engine for automated test data creation, as well as Validation Manager to automate data validation of sales orders against original source data. And in total, we're able to deliver over £1.5 million worth of test and validation costs for their SAP estate. That's it for me for now. I shall hand over to Kieran, who will go through our demo. Over to you, Kieran.
Thank you, Faz. So before we jump into the actual demo, wanted to put all the tools or accelerators which Faz has just explained into perspective, and then we will get into a live demo. So I'll just talk about test lifecycle automation, which is a concept which is embedded into Prolific's culture, where we look at automating each and every step of a testing lifecycle. And then we will see how this lifecycle automation concept will be applied to SAP and followed by an end-to-end demo of all these accelerators. So let's look at an application which we want to test. Okay, the first step we do in as part of our testing lifecycle is gather the requirements. So we use BA360, which is our automated test design tool, to capture all the requirements, and then use AI-based predictive analytics to accurately assess the risk related to a requirement, and it helps in prioritizing the test cases. Then we also have an intelligent auto-learn mechanism to bring in the configurations from the application under test into BA360. Once the test cases are generated in BA360, they will be transferred to any test management tool. And as Faz mentioned, we have pre-built connectors for Micro Focus ALM, Jira, and Effecta as well. Effecta is our Prolific's homegrown test management tool. Then we have the test cases ready. The next step is we need test data. So we have another accelerator called as data mining engine. So typically when we look at an automation, the data is hard-coded. And what happens is when you execute the automation scripts, they keep failing because your data is either out of date or it's obsolete. And you don't have enough data to execute. So in order to avoid those kind of failures, we have come up with an engine called as data mining engine. What it does is instead of taking the data as input, it will take the criteria as input and use the criteria to extract data at the time of execution and then execute the test case so that our test case never fails because of bad data or old data. So that's how data mining engine works in getting the data just in time. So in general, if you look at any test case, it's a collection of steps. The initial steps are to perform certain actions on the application, and then the last steps are to perform certain more validations. And these validations are typically GUI-based validation. So when an automation script is built, the automation engineer will go to that particular screen, open it, fetch the data which is visible on the screen and do the validations. So all this takes a lot of time. One is in building the automation script for validations. And then at the time of execution, because the tool is working on the screens, it takes time to navigate through screens and fetch all the data and do validations. So what we have done is we have built a validation engine which works without GUI, which works from the backend. It can directly connect to the database and do all the validation. So that is going to save a lot of time in terms of building the automation script and also at the time of execution, because this is the backend based validation, it is pretty fast in execution as well. So this is how the validation engine, which is built inside Effecta, can help us reduce the overall time for both automation and execution as well. So now we have all the ingredients required for us to start execution. So we have test cases, we have test scripts, which we can create using the tools like UFT or SC, which is Selenium, and then also Effecta has certain inherent capabilities. So we can record the script using any of these tools, and then use Jenkins to execute. So in case any of our customers are using tools like CI/CD tools like Jenkins, we have a complete integration, and our automation suites can be directly executed from Jenkins. So based on from where you're executing, whether you're executing the test cases from your test management tool or Jenkins, the results will be readily available either in the test management tool or Jenkins. So this is how all the tools which Faz has talked about come into picture when we look at end-to-end life cycle automation. Anyhow, we will go through all these steps as we get into the demo. So to put this into perspective of SAP, so all the testing phases are on the top: the planning phase, preparation phase, automation phase, then impact analysis, and execution as well. So and you can see three swim lanes. The first swim lane is talking about all the accelerators which we have. The second swim lane is the SAP system, and third one is micro focus tools with which we have integrations from our accelerators and tools. So to start with, the first phase where, at the time of planning, we capture all the business benefits, and then we capture requirements, and in BA360, and then use ML-based auto learn mechanism, which can get all the configuration items from SAP automatically, and use it for generating the test cases. And similarly, we can also connect to the defect management system. It can be either ALM, or it can be Prolifix, Effecta, or Jira. We can connect to the defect database, and based on how well the defects are structured in terms of modules and scenarios and all that, we will be able to analyze the data and provide a mechanism to identify what is the probability of a failure for a given requirement. And now we have all the information required, and using this information, we generate and prioritize test cases. And these test cases are either moved into Effecta or ALM based on the tool of choice for test management. And in Effecta, we will use UFT, which is functional automation test tool for recording the scenarios and create the test scripts. And once these test scripts are ready, the next step is to use these scripts, and also do some impact analysis to understand what are the impacted changes, and use the impacted test cases to create a test set and execute it. So at the time of execution, we will be using data mining engine to update our test data sets so that our automation scripts don't fail. And we also will be using tools from Micro Focus like LoadRunner or Performance Center for non-functional testing of SAP. So this is how the overall flow goes, and we will look at exactly in the same manner the demos are arranged, so that we can put all the things in perspective and understand the capabilities. So as part of our demo, we will go through BA360, and in BA360, we'll primarily look at auto learn capabilities, risk-based assessment, and test case generation. And then followed by Effecta demo, where we will look at test management capabilities of Effecta, then automated recording of automation scripts using UFT, then integration with data mining engine for updating test data. And then we will execute an end-to-end test case and see how the results would look like. And finally, we will look at how impact analysis is used for understanding the impact of changes coming into SAP application. So with this, I'll hand over it to Rajesh to start sharing his screen. And we will get into the demo. So this is BA360. As Faz explained, this is used for, BA360 is used for automated generation of test cases. And what you see is the dashboard screen, so which you will, as soon as you log in, this is the landing page. And you can see all the key information or key statistics related to the instance, the BA360 instance. You can see the number of business processes which are created. You can see the number of applications, features, business scenarios. So all the key information is displayed here in the dashboard, along with the trends. You can also see that automation burn down chart, and then you can see how at what pace the components are getting created and getting automated. So all these tools are integrated, and we can fetch data from other tools as well. And on the right hand top corner, you can see some scrolling text that's called heads up display, which is again very specific to the logged in user. It gives all the information related to the key information related for project execution, like a missed deliverable or any defect which is signed and not retested. So all that kind of information it will be displaying, so that tester is up to date on their tasks. So once we move past dashboard, the next step is to get into global data. So as the name denotes, global data is the place where all the key components of a given environment are created. Like when I say key components, it is like all the applications which are available. And again, we will break down the application into features. So for our demo today, we are taking plant maintenance as our scenario, and we created it as an application so that we can drill down and see how this can be, this can be further taken for creating test cases. So we have created 3 features under plant maintenance. So once these components are ready, next step is to get into business process and create a business process and create a business scenario under it. So business scenario is nothing but a collection of steps, and each step represents um, each step represents a component or a feature within BA360. And this can be anything like feature, or anything like it can be an integration, or it can be any other basic component which we create as part of our global data. So this collection of these steps will help us to complete an end-to-end process. So after we create this, the next step is getting into machine learning. So this is the part where BA360 gets integrated with the application and start connecting to the application and fetch all the required information from the application itself. So with the click of a button, we are going to connect to SAP here and fetch all the required configuration items for us to build the test cases. So you can see we have one business process, we have one business scenario, and then we have 3 features which we are using as part of this scenario. And so what it does is it's connecting to SAP, and it fetched around 10 business process variations and then 109 data variations from SAP. So if we put it in perspective, we have this order type, maintenance activity type, a control type. So all these are different business process variations which are learned from BA360. Now these are stored within BA360 for further processing and using them for test case generation. So next step is to get into projects. So in projects, again, BA360 in fact supports both waterfall model and agile model of development. And this particular instance, this demo instance is created to support agile process. So you can see the requirement is in the form of an epic, and then when you click on it, you will see the user stories associated with that epic. And once you click on the user story, you have all the details related to the requirement here. And the key aspect here is risk-based assessment. So if you click on it, there are 4 factors based on which the risk is assessed. The first one is probability of failure. So this is where we are connecting to our defect database, analyzing the existing defect data, and then using it to calculate what is the probability that this component may fail. So, and then the next one is business impact. So again, the tester who's configuring this can make changes to the business impact by using the scroller, and you can change it and assign whatever value is relevant based on the tester's experience. So same thing happens with regression impact and recovery or workaround. But it also the tool also assists. In case we aren't sure, it also assists with certain yes no kind of questions which the tester can select, and the tool itself will also calculate the value instead of user trying to use the scroller to do that. So whatever tool suggests here, again, all these are overridable in the sense if the user is an SME who understands all these and wants to change the parameters, they are free to change. There is no restriction as such on whatever system suggests cannot be changed. So we always give an option so that if user understands what system suggested is not accurate, they can go ahead and override and then go to generating test cases. So once we have the requirements, then we already configured our global data. Next step is to get into test design. So in test design, if you can see, we have different testing techniques which we use, like equivalence class, state transition, decision table, error handling, error guessing. So all these are standard testing techniques which are used across the industry to ensure testing provides adequate coverage. So we also use the same techniques to be in line with the proven techniques. And we just need to select the sprint for which we want to generate the test cases and the feature for which we want to generate the test cases. Once we select that, you can see on the right hand side, there are equivalence classes, order type, maintenance activity type, control key. So all these are the actual items which we fetched when we connected to SAP using AutoLearn, and we fetched all these. So they are now converted into equivalence classes and are ready for test case generation. So once we have all this data ready, next step is to go to generate test cases, where it will show you what feature you want to generate test cases for. And then we go to the next step. So next step, it shows all the data and the conditions which are fetched as fetched from SAP. And here there are two ways we can generate test cases. Either we select generate all pairs, which will generate all the cases for the all possible combinations, or we use an intelligent algorithm called as picked algorithm, which in fact reduces the number of combinations and at the same time gives you very good coverage without compromising on the quality. So let's click on picked, and it gives you a picked input, and user, if understands how picked algorithm works, can also make changes in the screen before finally generating the scenarios or conditions. So here you can see with a click, we generated 140 conditions. So in fact, if we have not used picked algorithm, this would have resulted in generation of 5,000 plus conditions. So that's how picked intelligently optimizes the number of combinations and ensures we have very good coverage without compromising on the quality. So now I have 140 conditions. Now I can go ahead and generate the test cases using these conditions. So with a click of a button, we converted all these conditions into test cases, and these test cases are in given when then format. And once the test cases are generated, as I mentioned, we can transfer these test cases to test management tools like ALM or Jira, or in fact, we have an integration directly to with Effecta as well. So that's how we can transfer the test cases from BA360 to other test management tools. And in case you are using any test management tool which is not part of the list where we have ready integration, we still can export these into spreadsheets or Excel sheets and import them into the test management tool, which is a standard feature provided by all the test management tools. So this is how we use BA360 to generate test cases. So now the test cases are ready. Next step is to get into our test management tool. And for this demo, we are getting into Effecta. And what you see is again a dashboard, Effecta dashboard. So as soon as you log in, you see Effecta dashboard where all the metrics related to this environment and the default project which is selected for the user are displayed here. So the management gives a bird's eye view of the health of the project by looking at this dashboard itself. And if you can observe on the left-hand side, we have all the modules like projects, test requirements, test cases. So all these are the modules related to the test management. So Effecta on its own can do end-to-end test management. That's why we have all these components. So you can create projects under projects menu or the projects module and then create requirements. So if you don't have any other test management tool, you can also capture requirements in Effecta directly and then generate or create test cases in test cases module. And then if you look at the next two modules are test scripts and test validations. These are two modules related to automation. Let me start with test scripts. So we have a lot of emphasis on test automation. And when we look at test automation, we also emphasize a lot on reusability. So what we have done is we have a separate module to create all the automated scripts. So any automation script I want to create, I'll be creating under test scripts. And this script is available for any test case. So in the sense, one script can be associated with multiple test cases. So thereby it enhances reusability. And similarly, any test case comprises of the steps and the validations. So we have a separate validations module where you can build all the validations which can be associated with the test case. So effectively, your test case, your automated test case is nothing but a combination of automation scripts and validations. So this is how you can create your automated scripts within Effecta. So once we have this, the next step is that we have test sets. It's nothing but for us to create test suites. We want to say arrange our test cases like with in an order in which they represent modules or certain functionality, so that it's easy for me to pull them and execute them together. So I can create test sets here in the test sets module. And then in the execution module, it's used as the name denotes, it's used for executing either the test cases or test sets. Whatever we want to configure, we can configure and execute. Then we have another module called as specialty services, which has a lot of accelerators inside it. And we will see one or two of them one or two of them today as part of this demo. And report section, our module contains all the reports and history related to the previous executions. And we also have a full-blown defect management capability within Effecta itself. So in a nutshell, this is about the test management capabilities. And I don't want to go through all these capabilities because these are common across most of the test management tools. Rather, we will jump on to the specialty of Effecta, which is automation. So we will, let's get into test scripts and try to create an automated script and see how simple it is to create an automated script using Effecta as a tool. So here we are creating a script. It's just a placeholder. We are configuring the basic information here, like what tool we want to use and provide description. So again, as I said, each script is a reusable component. So if the user wants to provide a detailed description of what exactly this script does, you can put it in the description so that people who wants to reuse can read and understand and collate them with their test case, or in fact integrate with them with their test case. So once the base information is complete, you will save it. So this is the just a container where the script is saved. We're going to get into automation now, where once we click, we get into automation module. And what you see here is a way to automate. There are two ways you can do it. One is you can record the script on the fly, or if your script is already recorded, you can also import it without going through all the hassles of these steps. So let's go with the recording as of now. And you can see the application tool type and script name. These are all pre-selected based on from where we started. And we click on Open Recorder. So once we click on Open Recorder, so we go to the UFT tool and we open the application which we want to record. And we also open the application which we want on which we want to perform all these tasks. Um,
Kiran, getting some ALM issue. Just a minute.
Yeah, you can probably close it and reopen it again.
Yeah.
So while Rajesh goes back to that screen, so we have integration from Effecta to UFT, and then we also have integration with Selenium. In case you are using web application and your tool of choice is Selenium, you can also use that. But because our tool today, our application today is SAP, which is a client server based application, we have chosen Microsoft UFT, sorry, Micro Focus UFT as our tool of choice. So we'll just try to recreate to avoid the issue. Save it, and then let's go to the automation screen.
1 minute, Kiran. I'm closing the existing one. Yeah.
Yeah, we have come to the automation screen. Yeah, so once we click on Open Recorder, so what Effecta does is it goes into a listening mode and waits for the automation to complete. Rajesh, let's skip this. In case you are having a problem, let's go to our existing scenario which we created for the demonstration. Let's move on.
Can you share your screen, Kiran? You have the recording, na? I'm stopping my.
Rajesh,
Yeah.
go to the demo scenario which we already created with 4 steps.
Yep.
Yeah, so in case we encounter any issue, we just ensure that we have a case which is already ready, which is automated. So let's go to directly to that scenario. And so this case is nothing but an order to cash scenario in SAP where we have 4 steps in it, which involves sales order creation, create delivery, post goods issue, and billing and invoice. So all these 4 steps are configured, and we also recorded all these scripts using Effecta and associated each script with each step so that an end-to-end scenario is built using these reusable scripts. So once the case is ready like this, the next step is we look at the test data. So when what Effecta does is when it imports the script, it actually removes the uh, tool specific information and fetches all the metadata and the test data which is available in the script, and creates a data set out of all the data which is used for recording the scenario. So when we recorded the scenario, we use this material number 246, and that's what is now taken out of the script, and a separate test data set is created. And let's see how test data is created. So in the typical approach, what we do is before we execute the automation script, we go ahead and modify the data in the data set. And there is another way where we can modify the data using data mining engine. So instead of hard coding this data, what we will do is we'll get into data mining engine and create a criteria which is required to be satisfied for executing this scenario. So now we are getting into a data mining engine, and this is where we create the criteria required to be used for fetching the data at the runtime. So there are multiple steps involved to create criteria. The first one is you select relations, then select lists, select criteria, and then criteria value. And then the tool generates the query based on all the selections you made. And then we do a field mapping. So before we get into all these steps, let me explain this instance of DME is integrated with Effecta, and whatever project and the test case and the scenario which we just which we want to automate or which we want to update the data, you can select directly from here, and it gives you if there are any conditions which are already configured. Because we configured this, it's showing you all the data which is already configured. So here we select the relations. Next, we select the list. So so when you're creating, it's something we need to select, but because it's already created, you see that there are few tables and columns which are pre-selected here when you navigate. Then once we select the list, next is to create the criteria. So again, it gives you a list of columns and tables which are required for creating the criteria. We select the required ones and then move on to the next step where we give the actual criteria value. So here we provide the criteria value, and with this, configuration of criteria is done. And using whatever configurations we did, what DME has done is it has created a query, and we can just verify if this query is fine and make any changes if required. And once we are satisfied, we just click and see if the query is working fine and is it fetching data or not. So we tested it. Now it is correct. It's working fine. It's getting the required data. So I'm good with the configuration of the criteria. So next step is this criteria needs to be mapped to the Effecta data set. So this is the screen where we select the data and map it to the test data set in Effecta. So with this, all the configuration of this data is complete. And next step is to use the DME tool to make the changes to the data. Though, so again, we don't want to directly go and change the data. So what we do is we will first look at what is the data which is available in the existing data set. So we have the material ID 246, which is available in the data set. First step is I don't want to go ahead and blindly change it. That's waste of time and waste of test data. So what I want to do is I want to check whether this data, which is already available in the data set, matches the criteria which we created for this or not. So I use certify option for that. So it executes the criteria on the existing data, and it tells you whether the data is still valid or not. And in this case, 246 is not a valid data for us anymore. So we need to change it. So for changing it, we are using an update option. So we will select the criteria and then click on the items and select 262 as our material ID and hit update. So with this, what happens is DME is going back and updating the data set in Effecta, and we can validate whether it is updated or not by executing or by certifying it again. And you can see it is passed now. So this is how we use DME to update our data sets. But again, you have seen it manually, but in fact, at the time of execution, all this happens automatically. What Effecta does is it first calls DME to do the validation, the certification and updation. And once it is successful, then it goes and starts executing the test case. So now let's go back to the data set and see if the data is updated because of the update we have run from DME. We see that, yes, the data is updated. 246, the material ID is replaced with 262. So now we have the test data set which is updated. Now I'm ready for execution because I have the right data and my script will not fail because of data issues. So let's go ahead and execute this test case and see how it goes. So this is the execution screen I was talking about. So here you will select the test case. And because we directly started executing from the test case itself, so it is kicking in automatically. And you can see here our homegrown GAT framework, which is used in the background for automating, is kicked off. And all the configurations are done and the actual execution has also started. So you can see the create sales order is happening. And once the sales order is created successfully, the order number is captured and we will move on to the second step, which is create delivery. So again, once the delivery is created successfully, the delivery number is captured and used for postcodes issue and to create a new delivery number here. And once it is done, we will be moving into the billing module and we will create the invoice number or billing number. And with that, our execution will be complete. So this is how you can use Effecta to automate your, record your script, associate with a test case and use it for execution. So once the execution is complete, you can see a unique number, execution ID is attached. So you can go back and look at the results by opening the execution ID. So, so if you look at, we had 4 steps. So the results are displayed accordingly. So each step, there is a status, whether it is pass or fail is given. And if you want to look at the details, especially when there is a failure, you would like to get into details. So you click on that step. It will show you all the detailed steps it has performed on the application, along with the data which is used for executing. So here you can see the new value which we have updated is used for execution as well. So this is how you can update your test data and execute your test cases as well automatically. So, so with this, we have captured the automation part. We have looked at the automation part. Next step is to look at the impact analysis. So as I said, impact analysis is a very key step in any successful testing. So we have built an accelerator for impact analysis within BA360, sorry, within Effecta, which will be able to connect to the SAP system and get all the impacted objects based on the transport numbers we provide. So again, you can either provide transport number or give a date range or a combination of both to get all the impacted objects from SAP system. So once you have the transport numbers, it's simple as clicking on get test cases. So what this does is it connects to an SAP, SAP component of Effecta. We have an Effecta component which sits on SAP system. It connects to that component, fetches all the impacted objects, and gives you the display, the list of objects which are impacted. And not just the list of impacted objects, it also gives you the list of test cases which are associated with the impacted object. So this gives you what objects has associated test cases. And then it also gives you a list of impacted objects which doesn't have test cases. So what it is telling you is, see, you have these many impacted objects for which you don't have test cases. So this gives us an opportunity to go ahead and add the additional test cases which are missing in the system, and then do another round of impact analysis to see if you have the complete coverage of um, uh, test cases for every change which is getting into the SAP system. So this is how it helps you to do the complete impact analysis and bridge the gaps, if any, by identifying the components where there are no test cases associated. And once you have the impacted test cases, from there itself, you can create a test set as well. So just clicking on that button will create a test set, and you will be able to see the test set in test set screen. So this is how it helps you to analyze the impact of changes coming into SAP. So so again, if these test cases, any of these test cases are already automated, so you are ready to go ahead and execute them using the execution module within Effecta. So this is how all the accelerators like BA360, Effecta, then data mining engine, and again, impact analysis within Effecta can help you to do an end-to-end testing and automate each and every step and make a testing much more efficient. So with this, we are done with the scenarios we wanted to demonstrate as part of today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Kiran. Right, we've got a few minutes left. I was trying to answer the questions as we went along. So if there are any questions, please do feel free to type them in the Q&A box.
In the meantime, shall we go ahead with the question we received offline?
Yeah, please go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so someone's asked, do you have any accelerators for S/4HANA migrations?
Kiran, do you want to answer that very quickly?
Yeah, Faz. So we have another accelerator in Effecta, which is called as data validation accelerator, which is used for testing large migrations, and that is completely compatible with SAP HANA. And we already use this accelerator with many of our customers where when they were migrating their data from older version of SAP to SAP HANA.
Great. Was there anything else, Will?
Yeah, we had a few more. So someone asked, are you able to test all versions of SAP, or are there any kind of exceptions to that?
Kiran?
I'm sorry.
Oh, someone asked, are we able to test for all versions of SAP and as SAP continues to update?
Yeah, so as the new versions of SAP come in, we upgrade our tools to work with the latest versions of SAP.
Okay, thank you. I see someone's just typed in, is this approved to use in HEC and all linked tools?
I'm sorry again.
In the chat feature, someone's just asked a question about HEC.
HEC.
I'm not sure. Maybe we can take this offline because I think we're almost up on the hour, and I don't want to keep. Oh, HANA Enterprise Cloud.
So there's another question, Kiran.
Yeah.
Can we integrate with SAP Solution Manager?
As of now, there is no integration. We can directly connect with SAP and fetch all the components which are impacted based on the transports we are going to use.
Great. I think we're at the end now, so I just want to thank everyone for taking time out this afternoon to attend, and hopefully we've shown you some of the value of test automation around SAP and how people can achieve quality at speed. If you do have any other questions, we'll answer any of the outstanding ones offline, and if anyone's interested in receiving a free test automation POC, then please feel free to get in touch, and we'd love to talk to you about that then. So thank you very much. And Jacob, do you have anything else to wrap up with?
Yep, thank you, Faz, and thank you to all the speakers from Prolifics there. I think it was an informative session, so thank you very much for that. The recording will be made available online, within around 24 hours time in our resource library, so do keep an eye out for that. With that being said, please do complete our post-event survey as well, as it will allow us to keep improving these events. Hope you all have a lovely afternoon. Goodbye.